were the one who tried to tell me that the elites are cleaning the same thing as you.
I want to start off this podcast. Welcome back, everybody, with letting you know that I power clean as much as the elite CrossFitters do.
No, we've debunked that.
I power cleaned 275 pounds yesterday. I am super happy about that because I've had 2 neck injuries this year. I just started doing Olympic lifts again. I haven't snatched, though. So one thing I haven't done in like 12 weeks.
That's okay.
Has it been 12 weeks since I got hurt? Probably, right? Maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I finally got back to doing a full power clean yesterday because I've been doing it from blocks and stuff. I hit 275, which I think is actually a lifetime PR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
A lifetime PR, and I felt like I could have ripped 315 off the ground.
I don't know about 315.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, I think you could have hit 300.
I could have hit 300 if I would have dug for it. Yeah. But
at least somewhere between 275 and 300 for sure.
yeah, I think 290 would have been a nice middle ground. But whatever. We took it as a win, and we're not going any further than that because I don't want to get hurt. My priority right now is the children and not having to say no to the children for fighting before bed and doing anything. So anyway, last week I did a solo pod on being sober for 2 years and what that feels like, and it has been really well received. I'm super happy about that. It seems like there's a lot of people out there that want to be sober non-alcoholics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can drink and not be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sober non-alcoholics.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying or no?
No.
Okay. There's a lot of people out there that like want to be sober, but due to societal pressure or like social pressure, they won't be sober.
Why are you saying sober non-alcoholic?
Because I'm sober. I don't drink.
Yeah, but I'm saying you don't have to be an alcoholic if you drink. If you drink, that doesn't automatically make you an alcoholic.
I know.
Oh.
That's why I'm saying sober. A sober non-alcoholic. I'm a non-alcoholic person who is sober.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You mean in regards to all polysubstances? Sober, meaning...
Polysubstances?
Yeah. Multiple substances?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sober for everything.
Okay. I didn't know that's... I thought you were just saying they want to be non-alcoholics. But I'm like, well, you don't have to be...
No. People who are not alcoholics, there's a lot that want to be sober, but due to the fact that... I think that is pee. It's got like a yellow tint to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
thinking.
due to the fact that like they're like all their friends drink or that, you know, like they have FOMO and stuff, they won't take the leap to be sober.
Yeah, I mean, I get that point. That's not what I'm talking about, so just forget it.
All right, forget it. Yeah, okay. The point is there's a lot of people out there that are not alcoholics but want to be sober.
Oh, I see now. I got it now.
Jesus, seriously? That took like 2 whole minutes.
Well, you didn't explain it well.
Yes, I did. W in the comments if I explained that well the first time. All right, but yeah.
I just rolled out of bed.
We did, actually. We did. I actually figure that these podcasts are best. Rolling out of bed.
Yeah, way better than doing it at night after I've worked, trained, especially last night, and then it was thunderstorming.
Yeah.
And it was like 9:30 at night before we even got anything together.
Yeah, I made the call that we should just do it early this morning because then we can sip on our nice Paper Street, use code CXC for a 20% discount. But yeah, I think that these are better. The only problem that I'm dealing with now is that I have a stupid freaking sore throat and whatever is going on. I think it's just like a head cold. Mm-hmm. It's worse than pregnancy for guys when they have a cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much worse.
Thank you for agreeing. She's a PA medical professional, so remember that she said that. Today, I think, so I've been on this kick that I want to actually talk about countercultural topics because I don't think we've ever done like a really good job at explaining what the counterculture is. So giving you guys different podcasts that give, I guess, our different viewpoints on how we live or the ways that we live our life that are countercultural. I think is the best way to do it, instead of doing a podcast where I'm like, we are the counterculture. We don't drink. We don't do drugs. We don't have 9 to 5s. You have a 9 to 5, but instead of doing kind of,
I guess kind of.
yeah, we don't.
But it's not 9 to 5.
Whatever.
It's 7 to 7.
You guys understand what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So
a job where you work for someone.
Regular job. So instead of doing a podcast like that, just doing a bunch of podcasts about the things that we do that I believe is different. And one of the things that I believe is different about our lives is reverting to Christianity. Would it be? It's reverting, right? Going back to Christianity.
I think revert means going back.
Yeah, because there's like this huge community of people online that's saying they're reverting back to Islam and they've never been Muslim. So I'm like, I don't think that's what that means.
Speaking in terms of like their ancestors, though?
No, because this one dude
reverting.
who's like, this one really popular dude, like this really popular dude is like a quarter black, a quarter white, and then he's like Filipino. And that's definitely not the popular religion in the Philippines. Islam.
I don't know.
Whatever. Anyways, so reverting back to Christianity. And so I want to talk about why I think that there's a psyop against Christianity, and there has been for years. I even want to talk a little bit about the simulation theory, because this is something that I was listening to about yesterday. But we'll get into that at some point. So first, because I don't want to like dominate the show and talk mostly about me, why don't you actually, this would be a better way to start it. I think last year is kind of when I started to talk about I wanted to like dive into the Bible, right?
Yeah.
So I have been an astute atheist for the longest time, right? I was an atheist for so long, like a devout one, right? And recently, I'll get into that story later, but recently, because of, to be honest with you, and I think that this is how people find God a lot of times, is I went through a really tough 2 years. Part of that had to do with the business, losing friends, other stuff, whole bunch of stuff. I was going through a tough 2 years, and I wanted answers. I wanted to figure stuff out. So I told Heather, I expressed to her how I wanted to kind of deep dive into the Bible. I ended up buying a Bible, and then I would read it every single morning. And there was one story that really stood out to me, which was the book of Job. And my mentor, who I have been talking to for years, there's another podcast it's labeled A Talk with My Spiritual Mentor on this page. He's been working on me to become a Christian for like 5 years. And so there's a lot to talk about in this podcast. And I actually want to have him back on the podcast again with my friend Alyssa, because she's like an astrology type of girl. Anyway, we'll get into it. So I pick up a Bible, I start believing more, and then I'm like, we should go to church. And then actually Heather was the person who first brought up our actual going to church moment, and then we went to church.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, interestingly enough.
I don't remember.
Yeah. It was I think we had gone one time, and then Easter weekend came up, and then you mentioned going on Friday and Sunday. And then I was like, okay.
Oh, we went on Palm Sunday, and the service was really good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
What was so good about it for you?
So for me, I don't have anything exciting to talk about. I wasn't an atheist, and then I wasn't not, or whatever. I was just raised. I'm pretty much like most, I would say, not most, but a lot of people our age, and maybe even our parents' age, because I feel like my mom is probably pretty similar. Like, you're raised Catholic, you go through all of the things, the baptism, communion, confirmation. There's something else in there. I don't know. Whatever. You go through all the is it commandments? Is that steps 10 or what is it?
Communion. There's what is that called?
They have a word.
C too.
Yeah.
I said no to this thing. Confirmation.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things or whatever. That you kind of go through, and I went to the like weekly Catholic school as a kid every Wednesday night or whatever.
You went to Catholic school?
Not-
or you went to like Bible study?
Bible study school or whatever
Oh, you
every
did?
week. Oh yeah.
Wow.
You had to get confirmed. So we went through that until I was like in like whatever age in high school, and then you get confirmed, and then you're kind of like out in the adult world or whatever, I guess. So I did all of that stuff. Because my grandma's a very astute Catholic, so she's goes to church. She's very heavily involved in the church, which I think most people her age, she's in her 80s.
Yeah, my grandma is like a devout, like she tells you that she's a Catholic as if it's a race.
Yeah, that's how my grandma is too.
Yeah.
So
But those their age of Catholics are the best.
Yeah.
Because they're like real about it. They smoke
are real.
Ritz, they drink whiskey, and they believe in Jesus. Like that's dope.
Yeah.
And they don't take no shit. They'll slap people. Like that's one quick note. That's the reason I'm not a Catholic anymore. But that's the reason why I actually admire Catholicism, especially older people, because they're like Muslims.
Yeah.
They don't take no shit. No. And like this new wave of Christianity is super gay. Like there these like, excuse me for saying that. This new wave of Christianity seems to be very passive, and it's weird, right? And it's actually super feminine. They like are super forgiving over things, and like they let anything fly. That's one of the reasons why I admire Catholicism so much, but I'm not a Catholic, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, so she's definitely one of those diehards. She's 86 years old, and
yeah, I've talked to your grandma before,
and she's the same way with her politics. So
we don't have to get your grandma right now.
No. But anyway, so then my mom, obviously my mom's generation, she wanted us to do all the stuff. She did all the stuff. She went to Catholic school growing up. She was taught by nuns. She was slapped by nuns or whatever they used to do. Yes. She had all of that done. Although I don't believe that my mom ever got slapped. She's a goody two shoes. So,
yeah, but back then there was so many rules. Like it could have been that like her sock was an inch low and she got slapped.
Yeah. So her and my uncle talk about their, they'll tell us about their like going to school with the nuns and stuff growing up.
I had a nun as a teacher too. A nun was actually my principal for a while.
Well, she did not put us through Catholic school. We went to public school, like me and my siblings, but we did all the other stuff. And then that was kind of it. Like I would go to church on like holidays and stuff, but nothing else like it's not like I was like doing anything active in the church, I guess you could say.
You weren't like a practicing Christian?
No.
Was there a moment in time where like you had lost faith?
I don't think so. I think more along the lines of not like losing faith, but just like not thinking about it for long periods of times. Like I just didn't think about it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's never a point in time like, I mean, I don't know how touchy this is going to be for you, but like a lot of people, like when they go through loss, they get angry and they're like, they'll go through loss, they get angry, and then they like swear God off. When you lost your dad, did that happen to you at all?
No.
No.
Honestly, like, I think because like during that time I was like just super focused on school and I was in college. So I was like distracted. I was like, I had friends, I was partying, whatever. Like there was nothing, and I was like super focused on school and like what I was going to do after I graduated and all this stuff. So like, I think I don't ever remember ever like being mad at God, quote unquote, or whatever. Yeah, I think I was just like, too distracted, too focused on other stuff.
Sure.
And like maybe a little bit like, I mean, obviously looking back now, that's like, oh my God, almost 15 years ago or something. I think maturity too. Like I don't, since I wasn't like an avid Christian or avid Catholic or whatever, like during college or like even after that, I can't imagine having thought about it. Like I wouldn't have, like I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah. Is it something like, I get what you're saying there, because for me, back in, like, I've always had, throughout my entire life, I've always had these like existential crisis type of questions. Like I was super big into philosophy. I got into Eastern philosophy for a long time, meditation, yogi stuff. Like obviously it's all tattooed on my arm. We can get into that at some point. That was basically practicing witchcraft. Not actually, but what was I going to say? Was there a point in time where you were like, oh, this is something that I should probably start thinking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a time. So I've been married before. I mean, it's not a secret. And my ex was also raised the same exact way as me. His parents were, raised Catholic, went to Catholic school, but then he went to public school, but he did all the stuff. So we were able to get married Catholic, which I think was really important to our families. So we did get married in a Catholic church. And then when Izzy was born, we had a baby. We got her baptized at a Catholic church. But again, I feel like during that time, it was still like just checking the boxes. Like we had to go meet with like a Catholic couple or whatever. Yeah. And we went to church a couple times, but it was like checking the boxes kind of.
Yeah. So I'm going to touch on that real quick, is that I think a lot of people are of faith, but they're doing just that. They're checking the boxes. They're not actually bought into Jesus and God. They're going because it's like an expectation of them. So when we talk about the counterculture, I want to make super clear that this is also part of regular culture. Is just going to church to go through the motions. Yeah. That's super normal culture. And so is being an atheist. It's weird because there's like these two dynamics, right? And to me personally, I don't think either one is better than the other. Because if you're somebody who's checking the boxes as a Christian and you're just going to go through the motions, you might as well be an atheist. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't say like I don't believe in God. Like I definitely do. I just don't think I was like paying attention to it. Like I've never like in my life paid attention to it.
Yeah.
A little bit when I was really young. Like I remember when I was in like middle school or something, I had like a little phase of like being super interested in it. And like, I think to be honest, I really just liked my teacher who was like that year or whatever for Catholic school. And but I don't know. I can't remember because my long-term memory is terrible.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so to answer that question, that was a very long-winded answer that you originally asked me, which is why I really liked Palm Sunday. So I just wanted to give the background of like where it came from because we went to church that Palm Sunday and this particular, what are they called? Pastor. Like told the story of Palm Sunday in just an incredibly interesting manner. It was more of a story than it was like this old text or these verses from the Bible that like are just not engaging. Yeah. Like I would say, and I don't know, maybe people have opinion, it shouldn't be engaging, blah, blah, blah. But I think that that's a way to get people, more engaged with religion and like with Christianity and stuff is like some type of new way of doing it. Like if you go to a Catholic service, it's just very like regimented, old school. And so I just really liked the way that the message was delivered. And it was like a really good story.
Yeah. So that's what brought you to thinking about God again?
Yeah.
More like recently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, that's interesting because I feel like personally that a lot of people get back to religion or God due to some sort of hardship, typically, right? Which sucks. And it sucks that that's how it happened to me too, because in the book of Job, one of the lines that Job says to his wife is, he who only honors God when things are good would be a fool. And that really struck me, like almost brought me to tears, because I think about my life and how I was an atheist for so long. And when I think about it, I was just so angry with God. And I was thinking about like, I was, I did all the things too. I don't really want to get into my history of like being a Catholic and going to Catholic school and the poor experience that I had there. There was one teacher who told me that I was satanic because I had a Spitfire beanie, and that basically like wrote off Catholicism for me. And so I was a skateboard kid. I had a Spitfire hat.
And you hold grudges.
And I hold grudges, but I had no idea. But this is a perfect example of holding grudges. I held a grudge against God, basically.
You did.
I think what's interesting about Christianity specifically, right? What's interesting about Christianity specifically is that you always see the people who are not Christian, the atheist type, they hold a grudge against the type of people rather than the religion. So they associate the fact that there are bad people within the religion who don't represent Christ and the values and morals, and they're like, well, Christianity is bad. But that's not the case, right? Like, okay, sorry you had a poor experience with bad people. That'd be like saying now that you went to Famous Dave's a couple times and you had a bad plate of food. So overall, Famous Dave's is written off. Right?
I love that
Famous Dave's is the best place.
Dave's what?
I'm thinking so heavy about barbecue this week that Famous Dave's came to mind.
Gross.
But you understand the message, right? Like, because you had a poor experience with bad people, humans, you now write off an entire religion. That's crazy to me, and that's super immature. Like that to me shows a very low IQ.
Yeah.
That you could associate religion with the people. And of course, like, but there's going to be bad people in everything. Like, there's going to be bad people that work at Walmart, but you're still going to go to Walmart. I guarantee it. There's going to be bad people that work at Target, but you're still going to Target. There's no way you're not, because the product is good. So if you look at the core of what Christianity is, the product is amazing. And the promise is the greatest one that you can have. You know, so growing up, I was really mad at God, and I became an astute atheist, like a devout one, I would say. And I had all of the arguments against Christ. But then but the problem is that the majority of people who like are atheists aren't very well read on Christianity. And and this is my experience with atheism, right? They're not very well read on Christianity, but they will support Islam. And they'll be like, you can't make fun of Jewish people. You can't do all this stuff. But Christianity, for some reason, is fair game because it's considered a Western religion. But Christianity is not a Western religion. It's an Eastern religion. It comes from the Middle East. It comes from Israel. And or not Israel. Yeah, Israel. Where was Jesus? Jerusalem, whatever. It comes from the East, right? It comes from the East, and then it became the primary Western religion over time. But that's still not to say that it didn't originate from somewhere else, you know? So I think it's interesting. And what I find is that a lot of atheists or people that fall into the realm, like, it's just crazy. I feel like I'm going on a tangent right now. Let's just focus. Let's focus because I'm getting passionate.
Yeah.
So I grew up Catholic, made it to college. I became a pretty devout atheist, and I had all of the arguments. I could argue you through a wall, right? We all know that I like debating and stuff. And so I could argue you through a wall. I didn't let my son get baptized, which I still actually stand to this day. I didn't want him to get baptized as a baby. And I still stand 10 toes on that. And it turns out the church that I go to also agrees with that. So it's weird how things go full circle. But I went through a hard two years. And I started realizing that a lot of the other stuff that I was doing, like I I got really heavy into Buddhism, and I read the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Hindu book, right? That book I've read all the principles with Buddha. Like, you guys can see, maybe you can't see, but we have literally 3
Well, they
Buddha
can't see,
statues.
I don't think.
We literally have 3 Buddha statues right here. I have a Buddha tattooed on my arm with the lotus flower. I have the flower of life. I have sacred geometry tattooed on here. I have freaking moon signs for no reason tattooed on me, but the moon phases. Needless to say, I was an atheist. And then I realized, though, throughout life that I would start doing all these things to try to get answers, to try to get my mind at peace. I did the 200-hour yoga teacher training. I would meditate twice a day. For a while, I did transcendental meditation. I got into mindfulness meditation. And none of that brought me the same type of answers that Christianity brought me. And what I think is interesting is because I think that's interesting because as an atheist, or later on, I guess I wasn't an atheist, but I was one of these spiritual guys, right? I started to migrate into that. What I think is interesting about those people is that, and I said this in my what is it called? Your testimony as getting baptized, is that I wanted to be like my own king almost. I wanted to not answer to anybody. I wanted to not have to follow any rules. I wanted to create my own moral compass and ethics and stuff. And what that does to you is it brings you a lot of turmoil, because you're the one that constantly has to make decisions. And not that I don't constantly make decisions, but you're the one that constantly has to make decisions and second guess your human nature, basically. Right. And so you end up feeling like guilty about a lot of things and bad about a lot of things because you don't have any higher source to go to for clarity. And so that's really rough. And I've noticed that a lot of atheists tend to be like very unhappy people at the end of the day. You know, they're very unhappy in so many ways. Their marriages, their relationships with people, they don't really have much community around them for the most part. There's a lot of things. And that's not to say that there's not exceptions to that rule, because there definitely is. But the majority of people that I have experienced in that way are like that. And they do a lot of hedonistic stuff, I guess, right? There's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of like random sex with people, and they're always trying to fill a void somehow, is the thing that I've noticed, right? They're just trying to fill a void because they don't have this certain thing. And I did that too for the most part. Like, I didn't do drugs and I wasn't like, crazy, but I would like drink, and I was trying to find answers through tarot cards even, or like astrology stuff and numerology. And I think that actually numerology goes with Christianity. I'm just going to go out on a whim and say that. But I started looking for answers in all these different spots: meditation, yoga, blah, 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 right? And I never found them. I never found the answers that I was looking for, ever. So yeah, then I finally decided to, after meeting for 5 years with my mentor, I told them that I was ready to actually like dive in, and I had bought a Bible and I wanted to read it and stuff. And then that's where I ended up now. So all that to say, man, I don't even really know where to go from there, to be honest with you. Like, I really think Christianity, like God, Jesus, the Bible has done so much in my life, and I've seen things move in a proper way, right? Like, we have gone through a lot of things the past 2 years together. We've been together for 2 years.
It's over 2 years now.
Yeah. Hold on.
Well over.
We've been together for over 2 years now, but I guess, have you seen like a shift in me since like going to God?
Yes. Not 100% shift.
Yeah, no, there won't be.
But
Can't be.
at least a change, I think, in terms of, not that you were like some immoral type of person or something before, not at all that. I think more so in the way that you handle things, handle stress, and handle relationships with other people.
Yeah.
Like particularly like a friendship situation. And just like a couple of other things, I think just more.
I'll be more specific about this. I've always had a code of ethics that I've lived by. But one of my code of ethics was basically when someone does you dirty, you handle that business, right? And ever since coming to Jesus, I don't feel the need to handle that business. Like I don't feel the need to go slash somebody's tires over like a bad business thing. Or, like I think what you're trying to say is that before I would hold grudges more and I'd be more, I guess, like angry, mad about things. And now I don't feel that need because I have God and I have Jesus and I have people that I can look to. And I have my mentor, to be honest with you. Steve has done so many works of like miracles basically in my life when it comes to that type of stuff where I have people that I can look to as authority, kind of like father figures, and be like, hey, what do I need to do in this situation? When I do have bad things happen or I have, just bad things happen in life, like I pray.
Yeah.
And it gives me peace.
I think I have seen that peace in you. I think there's still some work to be done.
Well, I'm still a man, and I still want to punch people in the face.
You still have a hard time with, and this is something that we talked about with Roderick on the podcast with Gabe and Roderick, that you still have trouble accepting people
where they are.
Yeah. Like you can't, you are unable, and I don't know, I think it's less about somebody doing something specific to you. So maybe that's why it hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
But you still have a hard time of meeting people where they are. Like you do not like it if somebody is not living to your standard.
But hey, all that to say too, though, like I don't like when I see people not living to my standard, but I'm super entitled to that. Like I don't.
Yeah, but I don't think you should have internal turmoil over it, which I still see.
Really? I don't think that I do. I think that for me, I think what happens is I get upset when people are not living to their potential, and they're not fulfilling their potential, and that does get me upset as a friend and as somebody who loves them. Right? That gets me upset. And at this point in my life, I'm not willing to surround myself around that.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. I just think that I still see it bothering you internally.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Like even last night, for example, what? The client app situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not talk about that on this podcast.
No, I know. I'm just giving you
I know.
an example of that exact thing I'm talking about.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm more willing to admit when I'm wrong now too.
Mm-hmm. And I think that I don't know if that's like a thing that you'll find through God. Maybe you will.
I think that's just growing up.
Yeah.
To be honest, I just think it's growing up.
And maybe you should just read that book that Roderick told you to read.
I don't even remember what it was.
Oh, well, I know where you can find it. It's documented on our YouTube channel.
That's true. So go check out our Paper Street Coffee Roundtable podcast.
But spending time with him and like having seen a couple of instances where we were like, what's, like people maybe not doing things that they were said they're going to do or whatever, you know what I mean? And just seeing the way that he was just like, oh, well, like I'm not going to let it bother me type of situation compared to like the way it bothers you. I was like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree, but I think that I hold everyone to a high standard because I want them in my life. Right. Mm-hmm. And this is going completely off topic with what the podcast is about. But for anybody else who struggles with this, I hold a lot of people to high standards because I want them in my life. I actively want these people in my life. And when they're not holding up to a standard, it's almost as if I feel like I'm losing that person or a friend because I know at this point in my life, I'm not willing to accept mediocrity or what I consider mediocrity. I only want people in my life or in my social circle or to even be around me that are fulfilling a greater purpose or doing the things that they say that they do that stand by a moral and ethic code. That's what I want. And so I've always said it's better to be in no company than bad company. And bad company doesn't mean like bad people who are like stealing stuff or whatever. It's just people who are going to bring your vibration down, literally.
Yeah.
You are some of the 5 people that you hang out with. And if you hang out mostly with yourself, that, and you have all these goals and you're able to achieve your goals and you work towards your goals, I think that that's a better position to be in, because people will drag you down. And that sucks because they could be your best friends, but they will drag you down. You're going to get dragged out for a night. You're going to get dragged out for a night on Friday. And then they're going to be like, hey, do you want to go do something on Saturday? And you're going to do that. And so dragging down doesn't necessarily mean that your moral and ethic code goes away, but maybe your goals start to fizzle out.
Right.
And I don't want that. I'm in like a really good spot right now. I'm hustling. I'm grinding. Things are going this way. Give all glory to God for that and hard work. God allows me to work hard through him and he works hard through me. And that's why I think that things are going in the direction that they need to go. But anyway, I want to talk about Christianity, the psyop of Christianity, and why I think that it's like so important that people understand this. Okay. This is something that I was caught up into, right? For a long time. Christianity, have you noticed? Christianity is the only religion you can talk foul about.
I don't think I would have paid attention to that. Like something like that. Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
All right. So it seems to be that Christianity is the only religion that people are allowed to dog on, which leads me to believe a couple things, right? So let's just talk about this first. Before all this stuff about Jewish people in Palestine, like the Jews and Palestinians or whatever, you could not say one bad thing about Judaism. You couldn't do it because people would call you an anti-Semite. Kanye West last year literally was under so much fire because he said Jewish people rule the world, which by the way would be super cool if your people ruled the world.
Yeah.
Right? That would be super cool. But they got mad at him for that. He might have said some other things too that were bad, right? So a year ago, you couldn't talk crap about Jewish people. You've never been able to talk bad about Islam ever. Nobody talks bad about Buddhism. Nobody talks bad about the Hindu. The only people that society at large talks bad about is Christianity.
Give an example of talking bad about Christianity.
Yeah. So when a Christian person goes like people will always say like your God is hateful about Christianity. Your God is violent. And then they'll like cite the New Testament, stuff like that.
Okay.
And so people are constantly talking bad about Christianity. And what that tells me, right, especially when you have all this signaling in like major media sources too, like they talk about how Christians are bad, how white people are bad, like associating white and Christian together type thing. And then it's popular in rap music and in movies and stuff. Everything has to do with signaling over Christianity. So like most recently, this woman named Sexy Red was caught at the Super Bowl with Taylor Swift with an upside down cross on her neck and like satanic stuff, right? Why is it that all of the signaling when it comes to religion has to do with Christianity and no other religions? Why?
I don't know.
To me, it says that it's the one that holds the most weight. It's the one that actually could be legit, right? You can't talk, well, there's a couple of reasons why you can't talk about Islam. And because if you talk about the Prophet Muhammad, like they'll cut your head off. They'll literally kill you. Like you can't talk bad about. And that's one thing, by the way, that I admire about Islam too, is that not that they'll cut your head off, but that they're die hard for their religion.
Oh yeah.
They're die hard. And that's something that I admire about the Muslim faith and about Islam is that they'll die on a stake over it. Christians won't really do that. But so to me, it says that because you can talk so poorly about Christianity, and they do it often. When you look at music videos and you look at, culture at large, a lot of it is anti-Christ. None of it is anti-Judaism or anti-Muslim Islam or anti-Buddhism. It's all anti-Christ. Why? Even in movies, like the scary movie stuff, like the signaling always has to do, or the messaging always has to do with things that are anti-God. So like when you talk about horror movies, it's always about like spirits and it's always about like, stuff like that. So we don't have to get super deep into it. But for me, it's a psyop. I believe personally and I fell into this. I'm sure I did. But I believe personally that it's what's it called? An orchestrated attack. I believe that it's an orchestrated attack because I think that the government or the people that, the powers that be don't want you to believe in the one thing that can save you. Don't want you to believe, and not just save you in terms of like going to church, but like people who are sad, depressed, lonely are way more controllable. Like they're not going to be the people who go out and create multi-million-dollar businesses or, go out and try to be a part of what is not the middle class that is really the middle class now, right? They're going to be more willing to like work at McDonald's forever because why not? Like life sucks anyway. But if you have a higher authority and a belief in something that makes you happy and makes you excited every single day, you're probably more likely to do great things with your life, right? So that's just one thing that I wanted to touch on. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I can get behind that theory because the powers that be do it about our health. So why wouldn't they do it about religion?
Right. And the main thing here is not Catholicism or Greek Orthodox or anything like that. It's specifically my mom. She scared the crap out of me. It's specifically Christianity. What brought me back to Christianity, what was like the thing that put the nail in the coffin for me was my mentor told me, and this is documented historical evidence, right? My mentor told me that 500 people died because they said that they did see Jesus resurrected. So after he died, 500 eyewitness testimony said that they saw his body walking on earth again. Okay. That's the thing that brought me back to Christianity. And there's so much propaganda around that to like try to disprove it. Let me tell you something. If my best friend died and came back to life, Ricky, if you died and came back to life and the freaking Pontius Pilate sent out his soldiers and they asked me if I saw you alive again, I'd be like, who's Ricky, dude? I'd be like, who's Ricky, bro? I've never even heard of this guy. And they'd be like, but you were supposedly his best friend. I'll be like, dude, maybe I don't know. Maybe I ran into him when I was drinking. I have no idea who he is. I'm not dying over that.
Yeah.
But I'm a coward in that sense, right? Like I'm probably not dying over that. If Jesus came back to life now, I'd like to think because I'm a Christian, I'd be like, yeah, dude, yeah, okay. So now I know this is real. So I'm going to heaven. Forget it. Yeah, just shoot me right now. But like, yeah. So that was one thing that really brought me back. So my whole point is there's evidence to suggest that this really happened, right? That Jesus really did die. He really did come back to life. 500 people died over this. And if 500 people died over it, right? If there's a miracle that happened like that and you want to control society at large, you would create religions, right? You would create religions to scare people, but you would also try to demonize that and say that that's not real and try to promote the enemy. And promoting the enemy is done through like, through messaging other ways, right? There's so much satanic stuff that is in our music videos that's done as marketing and all this stuff. So anyway, we don't have to get super deep into that because I don't want to get super conspiratorial here, but you can get behind that, you think?
Oh yeah. I feel like everything that's good in the world is suppressed by the powers that be via propaganda. Sure. So, I mean, I don't know a ton. I don't know anywhere near. I probably know nothing, about religion and suppression of religion and all of that kind of stuff. But
well, look, I mean,
the health stuff, for sure, and that makes me crazy.
The reason why I know so much about that is because I was an atheist for so long, and I have explored all of the philosophies and all of the religions. And actually, it's funny because yoga is what brought me back to God. Crazy enough, right? Because I do believe that there is utility in breath work and meditation. I believe that prayer is the highest form of meditation. And when people talk about manifestation, how that's like, woo-woo spiritual stuff, I don't believe that at all. I believe prayer is the highest form of manifestation. People are like, ask the universe. No. Ask God. God is the creator of the universe. The universe may be the aggregate to get you what you need, but if you circumvent talking to the universe and you talk to God, God sends a signal to the universe, and then nice. God sends a signal to the universe, and then you get what you want. But that's not without saying that you don't have to work hard for it, right? You definitely have to do it. I think what else, right? I think that an argument here would be, people would think that like, well, if that's true, then every Christian would be rich and famous and all this stuff. But no, they wouldn't be. And here's the reason why. Because most people who are Christian find their happiness through God. And they don't need the riches of the world. They need the riches of the heavens. So it's not the fact, like, they find their happiness in day-to-day things and family and in their career that, fulfills them, things of that nature. And that's something that I'm working really hard on.
Yeah.
And that's something that I need to work hard on. But I also want to prove to myself that this world, and you're capable of a lot of different things in this world, when you put your mind to it. So that's part of the game for me. So I don't think that that's an argument either, because people do say things like that. Well, if your God is so good, why aren't you rich? And why aren't you this? And why aren't you that? Well, I don't need it. They don't need it. And that's okay. Not everybody needs that, so anyway, yeah. The next thing that I really want to talk about is simulation theory.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. Simulation. Well, actually, here, hold on one second. Let me put these lights up. This is funny. Oh, my goodness. I got to put more tape on this. I got to put new, stickier tape on that. Okay.
That's going to fall again, I think.
So we might not get into simulation theory stuff here, but something that I think is also worth touching on is morals and ethics, right? I think that, let me get your thoughts. Do you think that we're all born with some sort of moral code? Like some things that are good and some things that are bad? Like, do we know that?
I think that we're taught that by our parents.
Okay.
Or we should be.
Where did it come from?
Yeah, I mean, it had to have come from somewhere, I guess.
Right? Like it had, like, so what?
It just gets passed down.
Yeah. So what interests me is why did people decide that killing each other was bad? Why did people decide that stealing was bad? Why did people decide that, lying is bad? Why do people decide that? I think that morals and ethics, especially when you have it like in you that things are wrong, right? Something is wrong. It has to come from somewhere. It has to. It can't just be like, it's like innate in our human nature that people like know not to kill another human, right? Because I think personally that you look at that other person as like a spirit, so you've seen them before. You've seen this before. So it's innate in you. That doesn't come with atheism, that doesn't come with that. And so, yeah. So I think that's really interesting. And I think that's not just an argument for Christianity by itself. That's an argument for religion, I think, in general. And I'm not a huge fan of organized religion. I think that that's why we identify more as Christian, right, than anything. But yeah, what do you think about that?
So you're saying that that proves that this is...
I think that just it doesn't prove it. I don't think...
Or gives evidence.
Yeah, because I'm going to be totally straight up and honest. I don't think that you can prove that God is real. I don't think that you can prove that Jesus, it was real and all this stuff.
You can just have evidence and then believe.
Exactly, and that's where faith comes in. Faith is the ability to believe in something extraordinary without sufficient enough evidence, right? For me, I have enough evidence to believe in it. But faith comes from believing because of belief.
Yeah.
Right? And that's something that I didn't understand either growing up. I was like, why would I believe in this? I haven't been given the proof. I haven't been given whatever. But it's weird because as you grow up, I think some of you are children living in adult bodies, and that's why you don't really have the ability to express faith in this, right? Like I forget who it is that said this, but scientists say, give us one miracle and we can explain the rest, which is the creation of the universe. Give us one miracle and we'll explain the rest. But like what Christianity is doing is asking you to give a lot of miracles, right? To explain a bunch of the natural world. So what was I saying?
That it's not, you can't prove it. It's just, there's
so
evidence, and then you have faith to believe it.
So yeah, I think that a lot of people are children living in adult bodies because they just want evidence. And it's like in most of your things in life, you don't have a lot of evidence. You just do, right? Because you can have evidence that something like doing a back squat 5x5 80% worked for Heather. That's evidence that worked for Heather. That's not evidence that that's going to work for me, and it probably will. There's a lot of things that we can go on tangents about, you talk in generalities, and you should talk in generalities, and there's exceptions to the rule, stuff like that. But for the most part, a lot of moves that you have made in your life don't have sufficient evidence. You just kind of did it, right? And so I think that that's more of an argument for Christianity. And a lot of you guys are mad about your upbringing in the Catholic Church and your parents and all these people that hurt you, but God didn't hurt you, man. God didn't hurt you. Jesus Christ didn't hurt you. Your parents did. The community of that church did. Maybe the teacher that called you satanic for having a Spitfire skateboarding hat on hurt you, but like God didn't. There's bad people in everything in life. That doesn't mean that the overarching message is bad.
Yeah.
You're always going to find bad people. So anyway, last thing, simulation theory. Ready?
Oh, I thought we did that.
No, we didn't do that. Simulation theory is basically the idea that we're living in a computer program. Okay, like The Sims. But we're playing RPG, which means that, so not NPC, which means you'd be a non-playing character. So somebody else is like whatever. RPG, right? Which means that you do have choice, you do have agency, stuff like that. That's like a theory. And I was listening to a podcast about this. And the guy was like, it's convincing to him because of like, you can basically, he was talking about manifestation too. Like there's certain paths in your life or side quests in your life. Like for a good example would be like, I have been grinding on the podcast for a long time, but then my POTS coaching got popular and it's like, oh, side quest. Like I have to focus on this real quick. You know what I mean? So he's like, yeah, it would make sense because of that. And then like different things and like the Hindu belief and stuff. Anyway, but my question still to the simulation theory is, okay, all that may still be true, right? That you're able to manifest things into your life and you're able to, that we might be like, I don't know. I guess you'd have to listen to this podcast. But my question still becomes like, where do the moral and ethics side come in? Like how have we been given this stuff, the morals and ethics of life, if it's just to be a computer program? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
We'd have to do it.
That's real far out there. The simulation thing. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I don't think the simulation theory like really holds much weight, to be honest. I
don't even understand it. What?
We'd have to talk about it on a different podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there anything else that you think we should cover on this? I think we've done like
a lot. It was great.
I think it was like sporadic and a lot, but
it wasn't sporadic. I think it was good. No. I'll be interested to see what people think about it, or, I think the majority of people don't want to think that the powers that be are intentionally harming us, and I would love for that to be true, but it just seems like most of the evidence points otherwise. And I would also like to hear how people were brought up and where they stand now, and if getting older and more mature has changed any of their opinions on church and stuff.
Let me touch on that real quick, because a lot of people's arguments will say that like this is what I've heard a lot, that the older you get, of course, the closer you get to God, because you're starting to see your imminent like demise. You're starting to see your death, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, of course. So like, of course, that the question would be made more in your mind that you is God real? Blah, 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 because you're scared. You don't know what death holds, right? And so especially when you're an atheist, you have no idea what's going to happen. You might feel cool about it when you're 30, 40, but when you get to 70, right? My grandpa got like reintroduced to the church basically like when he was dying. And that says a lot, I think, about, how much weight this holds on people, right? And I think that people will be like, yeah, they're just scared because they're going to die and they want to end up in heaven or whatever, if it's real. Well, let me tell you something. I'd rather be on the side of, going like this could be true than it not be true at all, right?
Yeah,
that type of thing. So yeah, there was one thing. Okay, the last thing that I want to say, I just want to touch this real quick. No, this is really quick. What she said about the powers that be and them intentionally harming us. You guys, all you have to do, I would love if people would write in the comment section here. Pay attention to what she said, that the powers that be intentionally hurting us. Right? The powers that be intentionally hurting us. Just pay attention to culture. That's all I'm asking people to do. Pay attention to culture at large. Pay attention to music videos. Pay attention to books. Pay attention to movies. Pay attention to the literature that's put out. And then pay attention to the news and TV and stuff like that. And tell me which religion is attacked the most. Truly. Tell me which one is attacked the most. You can't say anything about Islam. You can't say anything about Judaism. Well, now you can. It's funny because 6 months ago, the people who are attacking Judaism were attacking people for attacking Judaism, which is crazy. You guys are just hypocrites and wildly malleable. But you can't attack either of those people. You can't attack Buddhism. You can't attack Hinduism, but you can attack Christianity. Just pay attention to culture. The proof is in the pudding. Just pay attention to it. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. This might have been a little bit intense. Let us know what you think. Give them prompts. What did you say before?
Well, I said, I don't know.
Right in the comment section below.
Oh, yeah.
We're interested to hear where you guys stand on this.
Yeah.
How you grew up, where your faith is at now, if it is at all or not, and
what you think about the attack on.
Yeah, if you guys think the attack on Christianity is real. Yeah, cool. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out. Goodbye.